What's going on, everybody? I'm Tank, and this is another episode of Roadie Reactions. Today's reaction video is going to be a special request episode, because yesterday, from the time that this video originally releases, it's my dad's birthday. And for those of you that follow along with this channel, you know that my dad also follows along with all of these reactions so he can discover new music. And he's also sent me a ton of recommendations of his own. Now, I often can't get to a ton of them because I get a lot of recommendations from people, but I figured, hey man, it's his birthday, so let's do something that he wanted me to check out. And today, I've got his request. Now, I'm excited about this one because I'm positive I'm gonna like it because my dad did send it to me, but this is a band that's also been highly requested from you guys in the YouTube comments a lot too, so kind of killing two birds with one stone here. Now, honestly, I don't know a lot about this band. I do know that they're Icelandic, and I do know that it's gonna be metal, but that's really about it. But these videos are always fun because I'm gonna learn a ton. I'm gonna probably see a lot of gear that they're using, and hopefully we can learn a lot of stuff together today. So I will link this original video in the description below. And today, for the very first time, I'm gonna be checking out Skálmöld and honestly listening to a song that I can't pronounce accurately and I don't wanna be disrespectful, so it'll be listed right here below. Let's go. How many people are in this fucking band? Okay, so I assume that everybody that we can see up front are the actual band members. It does look like there's some musicians in the back. Obviously live performance. This looks like it's for TV. This kind of seems like, and I believe my dad had mentioned this to me when he first told me about this video, but this kind of seems like Austin City Limits that we have in the US for anybody that's familiar with that. There does look like there's a small crowd in the background and stuff like that. And it's a really good pro shot. Everything looks great. But so I assume our band here, Skálmöld, is the three guitar players, the bass player, the keyboard player, and the drummer. And the rest are just studio musicians, maybe on set or just for this performance. There's a lot of gear to break down here. So a lot of these might be quick, but let's keep watching some more before we get into all that. Their bass player is finger picking. So I was talking about the bass player finger picking, and the reason that I think that's so interesting is with this style of music, most bass players that you see are playing with an actual guitar pick because of the speed and stuff that they have to do and some of the rhythms. But it looked like he was just finger picking everything, which is pretty impressive, man. I mean, that's practice and speed and stuff like that. Speaking of the bass player, it looks like he's playing, it's definitely a Fender P bass, but it looks like a deluxe version of the P bass because not only does he have a precision pickup in it, he's also got the jazz style pickup in the bridge. And you can really tell the difference aside from the pickups alone between the jazz and the P basses because of how the electronics are laid out on the body of the guitar. The jazz basses have more of a straight style with how the knobs and the input jack are laid out, but the P basses are more curved, and that's curved with the pick guard too. And for gear, he's using an Ampeg stack, and it looks like just an SVT classic tube head with an 810 cabinet. It might be a 610. I think it's an 810 though, and that's 8 10-inch speakers. And Ampeg has been around forever. Ampeg was originally founded in like, I think as early as the 50s, maybe 40s, and has been a go-to in rock and metal for a long time, man. They're some of the most popular cabinets that you'll see on stage. That's actually what I used when I toured because I love the sound so much. Moving on to guitars. We got 3 of them, so I'm going to try and be quick so we're not sitting here forever. But one of the guitar players all the way far stage right is playing a Gibson Explorer. Interesting color on that guitar. I don't think I've ever seen an Explorer in that finish, but I think it's really unique and cool. But he's using a Marshall stack. So he's got a 412 cabinet, 4 12-inch speakers. And I'm 99.9% sure he's using the JCM 800, which is one of the most popular amps that Marshall has ever made. Originally released in the early 80s and through the 80s was used by some of the biggest rock and metal bands out there, man. It's a very, very sought after amp. And then the other guitar player that's also doing vocals is using a JCM 900, which is pretty similar to the 800, except for the fact that it has an additional channel on it. And it was also released in the 90s. And I don't know if it's a specific thing that they did, but the 800 and the 900 numbers correspond to the decades that they're originally released in. And the JCM names, actually all the initials in Marshall's products are actually initials of the Marshall family. So for example, the JCM is Jim Charles Marshall, or James Charles Marshall. And then that guitar player that's also doing vocals is playing a Gibson SG. Now, the SGs were originally the second version of the Les Pauls. They were called the Les Paul SG. Funny thing about that, though, Les Paul hated those guitars. They made that without his knowledge. And if I remember my history on that right, he actually asked for his name to be removed from that guitar and also removed himself from getting like shares of revenue from it as well. Now, the interesting thing about that is that the SG Standard is Gibson's most popular guitar of all times, most sold guitar of all times, which is kind of wild. Before I found that out, I would have put money that the Gibson Les Paul model itself was their highest selling instrument, but it's not. It's the SG. So we've been talking for a second. We've still got another guitar player and drums, but I want to hear more and we'll get into this later. And a keyboard player. Didn't forget about him. Oh, before all these solos. Okay, let's finish off gear here. I just realized too, their stage right guitar player kind of looks like a metal version of Dierks Bentley, the country artist. So the keyboardist that was doing vocals in that last part we were hearing, it looks like I know he's using Nord. I can recognize that red and black color combo on keyboards anywhere. I couldn't tell exactly what models he's looking. They look like stage series models, but I'll try and do a little bit of research to jump on that. And I actually really like the use of keys in this song in particular, man. There's actually, I expected it to be very, very heavy synthesizer type sounds, but we've actually heard a lot of piano samples and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool. Drummer is using a Pearl kit. And symbol-wise, I can't really tell based off any logos or anything. Off my eye, from what I've been seeing in the video, I assume he's using Zildjian. That's what they look like to me. But again, I'll do some background research on that and we'll check out. And then the stage left guitar player is using a Fender Stratocaster. So at this point, all the guitar players and the bass player, everybody's using very classic rock and metal instruments. There's like nothing super modern or super flashy or over the top about anything they're really using. For his amp, he's definitely using Mesa because I recognize the logo on the amp, but it's a combo amp. And I think it's a Roadster. I think it's like a dual rectifier Roadster, which is basically their just combo amp. So when you're talking about amplifiers and cabinets, the amp itself is what's actually sending the sound, like the input, and the cabinet is what produces the sound. So the cabinets have the speakers in them. The amps are what you actually plug into to play. And a lot of people, you know, when you say amps, that term kind of gets used interchangeably with a lot of stuff, like with the cabinets too, but amplifiers are specifically the head units. But with a combo like that, you have an amplifier and a cabinet built in together. Combo. So amp, cabinet, combo. They're all specifically different things. I think that's it for gear. I want to listen to the rest of this. It sounds like we're going to get some shredding solos here. And if anything else pops up, we'll stop and talk about it. Where are we going? Oh, those drum tones sound great. I'm so jealous of that bass player's beard. That was so fucking metal. Like, in the sense that, like, it almost had a sense of, like, garage metal to it with having good production and good instrumentation. Like, there's nothing over the top cheap frills about that. It was just metal, man. That was really cool. That was really cool. If anybody's wondering why I wasn't headbanging my ass off, my neck's been kind of hurting lately, and I promised Claire I'd kind of take it easy. I really like this, man. I want to hear more from this band, and I did hear they have a performance with an Icelandic symphony orchestra that I want to check out as well, too. So let's go talk more about it. So after watching that, I really think my favorite thing about it, other than the fact that I actually did really like the music, was how just raw it was, if that makes any sense. Like, this had a very classic metal feel to it. Like, with a lot of bands nowadays, you get a lot of breakdowns and a lot of crazy stuff, and this was just, there was nothing about that like that. It was just a raw, classic metal feel, man. And from what I understand, this band's, you know, relatively newer, within the last 10 years or so. This is a sound that I would expect to hear from a band that, you know, was rocking in like the 90s or the early 80s doing metal. I really, really enjoy this, man. And I honestly can't say I know too many bands or artists from Iceland at all. So these guys might be it. Bjork. Forgot about Bjork. I don't know how, because that's kind of hard to forget, but this was rad, man, and I can't wait to check out more, because like I said, I know I've heard they've done performances with symphony orchestras, and I'd be really interested to check that out. But now I want to go check out these albums, man, because they do have a few albums out that I'm aware of that I saw in the background when I was kind of looking this video up. But this is cool. This is a cool sound. I really dig it. Dad, thank you very much for throwing this my way. And happy fucking birthday, man. I wish I could be there with you, but COVID, distance, all that stuff. I'll see you soon, man. But thank you very much again. And thank you to everybody that watched this. And if this is your first time here, feel free to click subscribe. I release new videos all the time. Subscribing is free, and it helps my channel out a ton. If you liked this reaction, I would greatly appreciate the like, as it also helps the channel. But if you disliked it, no big deal, man. Thank you very much for your time. You are free to click dislike if you didn't like it. I'm also on a ton of different social media. We have a Discord server that a lot of us hang out on. I stream on Twitch regularly. We also have created playlists on Spotify and Apple Music of all of the music from all the reactions that I've ever done on this channel. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, I will throw links in the description below. My handle on everything social media related is @TankTheTech. Thank you so very much for watching. I will be back very soon with another episode of Roadie Reactions.